Hey guys, it's Matt. This will be the final video in a while about Apple TV's Severance, the concept of severance and its potential truth as it relates to our situation here in this place called Earth. Severance has a very weird cult, strong following because there's truth in it. There is truth in it in some sense related to what we know of as ourselves here on Earth and the part of us that maybe we don't know that exists somewhere else, or our spiritual self. This video will be slightly or major league disturbing as we explore some of the concepts where potentially the Severance TV show is expressing a truth that applies to us, again, in a relationship between the you that you know here on Earth and potentially a, I don't hate the word, higher self or oversoul, or just, I prefer a part of you that's not here. A worst case scenario, you are here being used by higher self, basically to do the laundry, to do the hard work. And that is a concept that comes through Severance. I'm not sure most people that watch the Apple TV show apply it to themselves and their spiritual self as they crunch their popcorn. But it is extremely likely that the much more powerful unconscious or subconscious self of these same people recognizes the truth in it, or the potential truth in it, without the conscious mind ever being aware of it in most people. They love Severance, they're addicted to the TV show, but they don't know why. 2 minutes or less. I apologize to the people that know exactly what I'm talking about, but this is no child truth or left behind. This is the Amish classroom. I promise, as I always go over, this will be 2 minutes, the summary. Apple TV show Severance, someone shows up at work. They've had a chip implanted in their brain. This doesn't just create two different personalities, it creates two completely distinct and different entities. The entity in the work environment that wakes up when the elevator doors open, knows nothing about the outside world, knows nothing about himself or herself in the outside world, doesn't know if, am I married on the outside world? What would my kids' names be? Where do I live? Knows nothing. Now, it's believable the way they present it because, as I've said, I've talked about this before. I'll be very brief. The person knows generally what a dog is and what a fire truck is and what a mountain is, but doesn't know anything about themselves. The outie, this is the innie, the person at work, the outie knows nothing about what happens at work. They simply emerge and wake up when the elevator doors open. They step back into the parking lot, say at 5 o'clock, to drive home. A person would do this to themselves or get the procedure with the chip implanted mostly for selfish reasons. They don't want to work. They simply want to go in, step in, go dark for a millisecond, and emerge at 5 o'clock like no time has passed with another entity but themselves having done the work. Now, Severance has expanded this. A woman that doesn't want to go through the pain of childbirth switches the severance and the other entity goes through childbirth. Someone that doesn't want to go to the dentist switches the personality. The personality on the outside goes dark, and all the other personality knows is waking up in the doctor's office, the dentist's office, giving birth, all the nasty pain and things that people don't want to do, the other entity is subjected to. And okay, before I lose people and go too long on this, is that in a way, in some sense, what is happening to us on Earth? We would without a doubt be the innie, the worker, no doubt about it. So that's what needs to be explored, and there's a macro and a micro sense to this. The macro is similar to what I've talked about in the past, Tony's explanation of various simultaneous incarnations higher self is placed into material realities or different timelines on Earth to go through the experience, to go through the hardship, the pain, the strife, etc., and to basically feed the information back to higher self. The macro sense is a little piece is broken off of the spiritual whole or higher self. That's you on Earth. There's hundreds or thousands of others, and eventually we have to go through enough or learn enough about this material game to get everybody out of here. Now that's the macro. The micro is the waking world to the dream world. The micro we've never talked about. I've never talked about in terms of a Severance related or themed video, where we are the innie, as Severance presents it on Apple TV, when we're awake. But when we go to sleep, the higher self or the other aspect, the spiritual aspect of us that, again, is being selfish, that doesn't want to go through all the hardship and pain of our waking world is tough, right? From the fight with the girlfriend in the morning before you go off to work, to the doctor calling you saying, you got this, or you need a series of tests, or get down here. The waking world ain't easy in this place. Your boss saying, you've been overlooked, asshole. The waking, so that does the spiritual self or the higher self take over? That maybe that's what REM sleep is. It's not, doesn't have to take over it at the end of life. The whole sleep thing doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. It does. Does it make any sense you'd have to sleep? Many of us sleep 6.5, 7.5, 8 hours a night. I mean, how doesn't make any sense. A body would need that much rest. The brain would have to go into that sort of dream cycles. Something, the higher selves maybe like I'm on vacation when we just waiting for us to go to sleep, and then in some way allows the higher self to take control back or wake back up or take the wheel, do whatever, to vacation, a Tahiti vacation, or whatever it does. So wait a second, Matt. You're proposing that potentially, as soon as we go to sleep or go into the deep REM sleep, another aspect of ourselves or spiritual self or whatever you want to call it, then gets control back in some way while we sleep and then can go, I don't know, have fun, throw a party, fly through the astral, whatever it does, visit this plane of existence, have fun at Rise over here, and it has complete control, and there's no all the pain and suffering and all the hard work we're doing here on earth. It's like running a program while we sleep. It refreshes us. It's like recharging a Tesla. Is that why these Teslas are becoming so popular? You plug it into your garage to recharge it. That's kind of what happens to us at night. Before then, we have to, the Audi Innie principle from Severance on Apple TV. Then the higher self or the spiritual self then goes to sleep while the innie, we have the waking world on earth where we get what? Traumatized, emotional highs and lows, learning about loss, experiencing all the different types of pain. Now, it wouldn't like the Nightmare Matrix, there's different versions of the Matrix before Neo's Matrix. The Nightmare Matrix didn't work. The crop didn't accept it as they didn't accept the Paradise Matrix. So there's a lot of pleasures here as well, maybe just enough. So this crop of innies will accept this program. And basically, in this sense, the outer or the innie, no, we're the innie, the Audi, or the higher self or the spiritual self or the part of you that's not here, at least not recognized by the waking self, is using us. Like in Apple TV Severance, right before they go into the dentist office, and this is how Severance is starting to present it now, not just work. Right before they go into the dentist office, the other entity wakes up. And the other entity says, I was just here a second ago. No, you were here 8 months ago for another dental procedure. The innie now is now waking back up just seconds before the next dental procedure. But it's a hell because they never leave the doctor's office or the childbirth or the dentist's office or the work. They're always, whenever they wake up, they have no recollection of even being asleep. So the moment they step out of the doctor's office, they're stepping right back in instantaneously, saying, I don't want another medical procedure. The last one was painful. It's like, well, you were here 8 months ago. Well, from the perspective of the innie or the entity that stepped into the doctor's office, they were there just a second ago. It is truly a definition of hell. So in any of these videos where I've talked about Severance and what is the potential truth in the Apple TV show, never talked about it like this, the macro and the micro, mostly focused on the macro. That this higher self, spiritual entity, has put at least one aspect or hundreds or thousands of aspects of itself into material realities called Earth for it to live a lifetime on its own. This is the macro, where who knows what happens at death, or will rejoin the higher self, whatever it may be. But in this macro sense, the higher self has no control or no direct interaction with the aspect of itself that it put into Earth. In the macro sense, again, it's these simultaneous incarnations, hundreds or thousands, are placed into material planes. Like, I'm placed here now. Matt came in the 20th century. I'm here in the 21st century. But in the macro sense of whatever potential truth is maybe being expressed through Apple TV's Severance, the macro sense is we're on our own until we die. Maybe we merge back in, who knows? But the higher self is not controlling us. We are on our own. I'm not a puppet where the higher self can just pull strings and like a marionette, I'll go flopping around. In the macro sense, we're on our own until death. The innie doing the hard work that the still potentially being used, doing all the things, learning about the emotional highs and lows and the pain and the loss and all the stuff that the higher self didn't want to do itself. So it just using us potentially, put a little aspect of itself into earth. That's the macro. The micro, and it flips back and forth every day when you go to sleep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sleep. Okay, wait for REM sleep. Okay, higher self takes over. What does that mean exactly? I don't know, but there's something to that because the whole needing 7 to 8 hours sleep doesn't make any sense to me. It never made any sense to me. It's like a program is being run when we go to sleep. So the micro is a flip-flop between higher self when we go to sleep, and just very, very similar to Apple TV's Severance. The innie works 9 to 5. The innie then goes dark. The outie then takes over and goes to dinner, goes to the opera, watches television, sleeps in the bed, has a sex act, creates a family, starts a small business on the side, whatever it may be, and then comes back into work, in this case, Lumen. On Apple TV, it's called Lumen, like luminary, illuminate. And then as soon as they come through the elevator, the innie wakes up with no sense that time has passed. The innie has stepped out 1 microsecond before, and they might feel a little refreshed because the outie went to sleep, but they're right back at work. So there's no doubt in my mind there's truth being expressed in Apple TV's Severance. Is it more the macro side or the micro side? Where are you along this sliding scale? And right about this time, I need to address objections. Somebody from Davenport? Oh, go ahead, stand up. Oh, let me get this straight, Matt. Executive producer on Apple TV Severance is Ben Stiller. Oh, yeah, you're saying Ben Stiller knows how spiritual and metaphysical reality works, right down to the micro or quantum level. Knows Ben Stiller is in the know on all. Did I say Ben Stiller would know? Did I say that? No. First off, there's a lot of explanations how truth can be expressed in a TV show when the person that's writing it or producing it or directing it has no idea what's going on. Well, number one, let's get the obvious out of the way. There is a small group of people here somewhere that know a lot. Reality buttons and levers that know a lot more that will never be shared with scientists, university research parks. It'll never make it out of it's the secret society of all secret societies. There's a group here that knows a lot. Okay. Maybe, hey, Ben Stiller at his level, he's a moron. I mean, he's much more intelligent than, say, a Joe Rogan or something. Matt, you're just cutting up yourself. No, hey, Ben, I got an idea for you. Come on, I want to pitch this idea for you. You can be executive producer. We've got these other big money that's interested in doing this. Ben might have just gotten on board, executive producer. I mean, he doesn't necessarily know anything. Of course not. On the other side of this, let's say everything came from Ben Stiller, the idea. He's executive producer, director. I don't know exactly his full involvement. If it all came from him, it doesn't mean he knows anything either. There's massive truths that have been expressed through art where the writer of the song or the writer of the poem had really no idea at that spiritual level how true it was. I don't really think at 25, Sarah McLachlan was in, Surfacing or whatever, was singing about as above, so below and all the stuff and angels and secret society. I think she got help. Hey, Sarah, why don't you consider this song? But if she did, it's possible she did, and she still's not going to know the ins and outs of how reality works. It flows through the artist. We've seen too many examples of this over time. Getting back to our discussion on the micro side of whatever truth may be in Apple TV's Severance, where when you go to sleep, in some way, the higher self then, as the outie, wakes back up, has control again, can fly around the astral, go do all the fun stuff while you do all the hard work in here. Let's talk about the micro. And to do this, we have to go all the way back to the absolute basics about sleep itself. It never made sense to me that we need to lay down and sleep 7 or 8 hours a night. And I know that my cat does it a lot more than I do now. The dogs do it. As far as I know, animals do it. Even fish kind of just float around. I don't, again, I understand the animals do it. That doesn't means it makes sense to me because the animals do it. My cat does it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Does your heart need an 8-hour break? In fact, it's actually the best news of all time from an anti-atheist position, because there's something spiritual going on with sleep. Maybe it is the micro definition we're presenting here regarding severance, or where the higher self takes over. It just doesn't make any sense. The body has no ability to repair itself unless you're in a sleep mode, or a cat needs to be asleep, or you need to be asleep, or a dog. Do hippopotamuses sleep? I guess everything sleeps, but that doesn't mean there could be a spiritual entity that's taking their experiences. Anybody that owns a pet, a dog or a cat, there's not one person listening to the words coming out of my mouth that doesn't think in some way that's not related to a spiritual entity in some way. It's not just a background thing on earth. The heart doesn't take a break. The organs in the body don't take a break. Well, what is the break for the brain for? It's absolutely, so your cuts and your injuries don't heal at all when you're awake. Body needs it to repair itself. But no, there's something spiritual going on with sleep. It doesn't, at the base level, it doesn't make any sense. Why a being would need to lay down. I could see a refresh of the brain, 45 minutes or something like that. But think about it. So long for what? And they say you're not even in REM sleep or dreams. Or what, 7, 8 hours? We spend just under a third or a fourth of our lives asleep. For some people to be over 20 some years asleep. Does that make any sense? No. There's something going on with that spiritually. And just because my cat does it more than me, the cat's a spiritual entity to me. The cat could be another aspect of higher self, another aspect of me, just having a different experience. But is sleep how the higher self compiles the data or takes the data from that day's activity? The micro version of what we're talking about here, where the higher self or the spiritual self in some way takes the data, compiles the data, takes over, whatever that means, when the entity is sleeping, or at least accomplishes something while the entity doing the work here on earth, whether it be a cat or yourself, is sleeping, that's much closer to the Apple TV show Severance, Innie and Outie, where they go back and forth daily. Show up at work, 9 to 5, whatever it may, 8:30 to 4:30. Innie then takes over, does all the work. We go to sleep. The outie takes over, the spiritual self or the higher self takes over, or compiles the data. I don't know what, to me, it's not, to some people, it's like, what did you just say a few minutes ago? That there's a spiritual entity associated with your cat, and it could be associated with the same higher self as you? It could be you, yeah. So what? If this is correct, and I believe this is how higher self works, that we're here having this experience. So it, using us, can learn, can experience through us. Experiences through the cat, experiences through the hippopotamus. Oh, that can't be right. Really? Why not? Because you're such a box thinker that just can't possibly. I sleep, doesn't make any sense. I see the cat sleep. The cat sleeps to repair itself. Oh, sure. Every organ is working all the time. They don't take breaks. The blood keeps flowing. The kidneys keep working. This refresh or whatever, it makes sense if it was 25 minutes or an hour, not 7 or 8 hours. Something very strange is going on. Have you ever heard a scientist explain why it has to be so long in every human, in every animal? No. To me, there's a spiritual reason for it. Science is looking for a physical reason. They keep looking at the physical, keep looking at the physical, keep looking. You know what? You know why science will never progress more than it is now? Whatever they can make better and bigger, flat screen televisions. Well, that's great. It'll never progress because it's all math oriented. You can't keep looking for the answers using math and equations. How this reality works at its most fundamental level, guess what? Has nothing to do with the math. The math is more associated with the macro, the Newtonian, where Jupiter's going to be next year on February 10th or whatever. That's all math. And guess what? Richard Feynman and Mitch Pikachu and Neil of the Grass Fed and Feeding and Stephen you know what and all the others and Newton rolling around. He's listening to me rolling around. At the fundamental, how this reality works, at the most fundamental level, the real answer is never going to be explained with math and calculus. Don't you know that by now? They keep trying to use math, these idiots, morons. You could take homeless people that like to talk about philosophy as they drink their Colt 45s. They're going to get closer to how this reality works than the scientists that are so caught up on the math. It's not going to be on a freaking chalkboard, you idiots. Stephen. Hey, Stephen, roll over here. Are you still trying to, what is that theory you wrote a book on it?
Oh, yeah, you just did it. We are working on the theory of everything.
Oh, the theory of everything. Yeah, you're trying to, and you're using math to work on your theory of everything, right? You're using math, right? By the way, there have been natural expressions of voice for 30 years for people that can't speak, natural expressions. So why are you using the same broken down voice box with parts from a toaster that, is the technology of the late 70s? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, could you be playing a character? What did he say to Django? And Django will each be playing character. Now, you will choose your character's costume and never break character. You, Stephen, even when you go out on a Friday night, you can never break character. And part of never breaking the character that you're playing is that voice, when you could have a natural voice expression, but you have to be one of those people to talk about. Sorry, let's get back to what we were talking about. You can't use math to explain how this reality works. The math, that's the lure. That's part of the trick that all the scientists will fall for. It works great on the macro. I'm sure their math someday will be able to tell us when the Nibiru dark planet will be coming around the mountain when she comes. We'll know all about that. But the well of reality, where it stems from, how it flows, the role of consciousness, that can't be explained by math, you idiots. Sitting here quietly for a minute, and sometimes my mind wanders. We just mentioned Stephen and Michio Kaku. Do you remember? I don't know. Well, this has nothing to do with the video now. Just 30 seconds. Do you remember when Mitch Kaku, or whatever his name is, Mitch the Cock? Do you remember when he got so upset? There's a famous video where somebody said something about 7-Eleven job application 2001, and they were not, a conspiracy. They were not on our team. They hinted something might have been illegitimate about the present. I don't know. It wasn't that bad. I mean, can you imagine what we've said over the years? No pee-pees and all that. He got so upset at her. Are you saying it didn't happen? Or he started to yell and go, could you, and I don't do interviews here. I don't do like shows and stuff like, here's our guest for today. I don't do that stuff. I don't participate on other people's channels, although someone will come to me once a month and say, can you do this podcast, Matt? Have you seen me on any podcasts in the last decade? No, I don't do that. Yes, what's that? That's from, yes, you do. That's from 16 Candles. No, I don't do that. Michio was so upset. You saying it? You're one of those people. You're saying, did it happen? Say it right now. Okay. Did it happen? Did it really happen? Oh, Michio, I'll make an exception. Please come on the Quantum of Conscious Show so we can talk about what I have to call the 7-Eleven job application, because our founding fathers fought for freedom of speech, and I can't even exercise it. Sorry, let's get back to the point. So what we're talking about specifically here related to severance brings back a whole new variable or ingredient into the argument, where people have come to me over the years and said, Matt, this has to be a prison planet. We have to be trapped, meaning we were tricked to come here. We would have never agreed to this trauma, this pain, this loss. We would have never signed up for this, no matter what the learning experience may be sold as when it was pitched to us. We must be tricked, Matt. There's no way I would have signed up for this. Well, here's the new variable ingredient. It's not like you were tricked by some evil being or some archonic charlatan that said, hey, check out this thing called Earth, by a lying evil entity. You did it to yourself is the new variable and ingredient. The aspect of you that's not here, what's called higher self or spiritual self, whatever you want to call it, whatever your belief set is, it knew exactly what it was getting you into. You did it to you, and you knew exactly what this reality or this hardcore pipe-hitting earth would bring. Now, I'm sure to the people that have come to me and said, Matt, we must have been tricked to come here because we would have never signed up for such trauma. This new variable or ingredient that you did it to yourself, it doesn't change their minds. In fact, it probably creates a stronger position for them saying, no, Matt, I would have never, any aspect of me would have never agreed to go in there and experience such pain and trauma. You saying it might have been another aspect of me, that don't change nothing. That aspect of me wouldn't have agreed to send even a portion of itself into this. We must have been tricked. Really? Let's see what our experience is with that sort of thing. Did you ever put your big toe into a hot bathtub to test it? Was it ever too hot? A few times, right? Did you ever, well, you just really fucked over your big toe. It's getting a little red. It's burned. Well, that's me. Oh, that's you, huh? You did it to yourself. Oh, higher self putting you into this earth material plane. Have you ever touched something knowing it might be red hot, but you still had to kind of touch it anyway, and just to test it, and you really burnt the end of your finger, and then, you used your finger. You fucked it. It's red now. Little blisters coming on your finger. Oh, but that's me. That's you. But you still put the finger on the hot thing, didn't you? Oh, but your higher self would never send a little aspect like a little finger or big toe into this reality. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I'll shut the video down and end the channel. Remember, we're talking micro to macro. The cells. The micro, whatever they call an atom, it's very similar as you go outward to solar systems and planets, whatever that is, circling the Earth, and electrons circling a nucleus, and planets circling a sun, and as above, so below, right? It all relates. So, yeah, you burnt the shit out of your finger. You screwed it. All the little cells, the poor little cells, they're going to, the ones where the blisters coming. Oh, God, the blisters coming. All those thousands of cells, some of them are dead, and they're going to be sloughed off like with calluses. Not only did you subjected them to a mini hell because you had to touch the side of the stove because you thought it might not be hot enough. Or I'm always trying to test the top of my wood stove. Say, it's not hot yet. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All those little tiny poor little cells. Oh, man. No, you've never done that? Yeah. So see, as above, so below, the macro, the micro, you doing it to your finger. What's the finger at its local level? That's everything. It doesn't care about your interpretation of the brain, the cells that just got whacked. You are in the middle of this reality for something greater, to test it or to learn something. It's tough while you're here. Guess what? When you just touched the side of the stove, it was tough on your finger. As above, so below. Works outward. Everything stacks on top of each other in the same sort of ratio. Why is this so hard to understand? It's very simple.
Oh, we would have never agreed to come in here. I would have never signed up for this trauma.
It's really small thinking. It really is. When you could be one little aspect of something trillions of times greater. I might be wrong about that, but at least that's big thinking.
I would have never signed up for this. Matt, you're full of shit.
Guess what just happened to me 1 minute ago? I forgot the all-time burn example. Burn your tongue and your taste buds in your mouth because you want to get the food in your mouth so quickly. Just did it. I forgot this burn example, but then I just burned myself, so I remembered. During the video, it's approaching, 10:45. Go check on Fifi Addy. She puts her feet in the water down there. All sorts of things floating around, little mud, little pieces of litter I have to change the little water down there 5 times a day. It's no big deal, down the basement. She's allowed to come up. She just doesn't ever choose to come up. Anyway, so that I'll grab an apple or a banana. In this case, I had a very tiny little breakfast early. I wanted an Aldi burrito. So 1 minute, it was the refried bean kind. I guess this kind's a little different. Usually I get the meat kind. I do eat that with the meat inside. That's gross to many of you. But the refried bean kind gets hotter. 1 minute with that salt verde, that green salsa. Well, I wanted, it's not too hot. I just burnt my tongue and my mouth. So the tongue and the mouth in this case, is that you to me, the higher self? It just happened. Unbelievable. I just had to share that. 1 minute on the show itself in the second season. To me, because the concept is so fascinating, there haven't been many first seasons better than Severance in 15 or 20 years. I think it's that good. There's so many weird aspects. There's a weirdness to it that I thought was kind of cool or charming. I was able to get through all the weirdness because I was so fascinated by the topic, the innie and the outie, and how they started to actually hate each other, and the innie and the outie personality were at odds with each other, and they didn't work together. They tried to sabotage each other. The final episode of season 1 is one of the best final episodes of any season I've ever seen. Now, how do you follow through with season 2? 20 more seconds. Season 2 has its issues. They're doing about the best that they can so far. The Miss Cobell goes up north episode, the last one, was absolutely horrible. Before that, I thought they were doing a pretty decent job. This concept is so hard to follow up with for a second season. I thought it was adequate, and I was giving them a lot of leeway. It's got to improve because the last episode, the Patricia Arquette, all by herself with all the other characters, was absolutely horrible. Okay, the last aspect to all of this is, and we've talked about it before, but this is probably the last time I'll talk about Severance for a year or so, unless something major happens in the last episode or two, and I have to come back. Does this spiritual aspect of you that's not here, whatever you want to call it, higher self, does it love you and is always going to be there for you? And that's the way the touchy-feely New Age people would talk about it. Oh, Monkey loves you. Monkey wants a hug. Is it always there for you? Or is it more like what Severance may be presenting? That is just using you. And yeah, that's my finger's going to get burned, but I need to know. Is it a user and an abuser? And so you're going to put an aspect of yourself into that thing called Earth? You wouldn't dare put an aspect of yourself into that hardcore place. We've heard about that. You're going to put an aspect of yourself called what? Who? Matt? Into Earth? You're going to subject it? Yeah, fuck him. And eventually I'll set his life up so it becomes a real outcast conspiracy son of a beach. Fuck that asshole called Matt. I'm going to send him in there, and then I'm going to take everything he learns, the highs and lows, I'm going to steal it. And I've convinced Matt to say, no more not blocking. Everything I share with my higher self freely. He's opened up all the pathways, that dumb son of a beach. I'm going to send this thing called Matt. Don't you care for him? He's part of you. Fuck him. No, send him into Earth. And then next time, if he's not good, I'm not going to have him out in the suburbs of Philadelphia where life is pretty darn palatable. Next time, he'll be in the slums of Delhi. Or perhaps, as usual, there is a third option or many options that we have never considered before. That it's a hybrid or a mix of sorts. Not like higher self just completely loves you and is always going to be there for you, and you do the best you can on little Earth. And or the other opposite is, I'm going to send this Matt in there and F him. But he's going to get beaten up at recess. F him. He's there for me. Maybe it's a hybrid. Maybe it doesn't love you, it doesn't hate you, it creates you, Frankenstein to Frankenstein's monster. You wake up on the table like the first scene in episode 1, season 1 of Severance, little Matt about to go in as a soul into a body on Earth. In the last conversation with higher self, I could add this into the last conversation before I was born, talking to potentially the greater aspect of me. And I wake up on the table maybe like Severance in the first episode. Who are you? You're me. You're me. I'm you? Well, who are you? I'm the spiritual greater aspect of you. And again, the hybrid is, you know what? I don't love you. I don't hate you. We got to go down and do that thing on Earth. And for tens of thousands of years, this is the way to do it. I'm sorry. I had to make an extension of myself. And I'm going to call you Matt. Why Matt? Why not? What do you want? Pinto? Flounder? You're going down into that Delta house called Earth. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm very sorry, it says in its booming voice. Somebody's got to do it. They experience emotional highs and lows. You're going to learn about loss. You're going to learn about emotional turmoil and pain. And there's a lot of pleasures down there. Don't forget, you always smell the roses. But I'm sorry. Somebody's got to go and you have signed. I didn't sign up for anything. Well, I created you like Frankenstein's monster to go do it. I'm sorry. I don't love you. I don't hate you. But how much time do I have before I enter a body into, what did you call it? A soul. You have about 10 seconds. Is there anything you want to say to me? What? Wait, did I have a say in this? No. Goodbye, son of a beach. I'll see you later in what to you is about 80 years and to me is a half a millisecond. Bye. See you in a second. 80 years later to you. 1 second later to your higher self. Little Matt, welcome back. Oh, I remember talking to you. Oh, I was gone for so long, 80-some years. How long was I gone? As I said, you weren't gone for more than 1 millisecond. It seemed like 80 years. Oh, God, I remember talking to you before I was born. Right? That's right. The grogginess you're experiencing. And stop talking like you're an old man. You need to leave the earth experience behind. Leave the notion of what you know of as a body behind. You ain't got no aches and pains up here. You ain't got no crickety joints. You're now dead. Do you understand that now? Oh yeah, but it's going to take me a while to leave the earthly shackles behind. Heck yeah, I understand. It takes a little while for you to, before you join back with me. But did I succeed? And what you created me as Frankenstein's monster to go into that. Oh, it was hard. It was a very difficult experience, and I didn't get no say. I know. Yo, no say. I know. I know it's difficult. Okay, I know. Did we succeed at least? No. I didn't succeed. You became a conspiracy. You became a conspiracy theorist. You spent 30 years trying to figure out something called Tartaria and why there were giant entranceways on doors and architecture that couldn't possibly be constructed. You didn't realize the entire reality. At the metaphysical level, the entire thing was a trick. You chased its breadcrumbs. No, you did not succeed. Well, what happens to me? Go do it again, this time in a much worse situation, and don't come back here until you figure it out. Now get lost. Oh, wait a second. If you're really me and I'm you, I should have a say in this. When do I have to go back? Immediately. No. Wait, what's immediately mean? Do I get to relax for a few hours? 10 seconds. No, wait. No. Oh, fuck you, higher self. And there you have it. The Apple TV show Severance contains a fundamental truth of how this reality works. We're just not sure what it is. And let's hope it's the better of these scenarios and not the one presented in the TV show where the innie learns to hate the outie and vice versa, and they work against each other. If that's the case, then the innies, which is you and me, will have to learn to band together, maybe to strike, maybe to, like a way a coal miners would go on strike, maybe threaten our higher selves, maybe demand reparations. We'll talk about that in videos yet to come. Thanks for listening. Psst, hey, over here. Psst, hey, bub. Who are you? Lefty. Come here. I want to talk to you. I'm not Nook. You could call me Lefty. You got the notion your higher self, there's a part of you that's screwing you down here. Put you down here where you don't want to be. I'm not Nook. You can call me Lefty. Hey, bub, I'm here to be your friend, to distract you from what you're supposed to do. The way to get back at your higher self for screwing you is to not give it what it wants, not give it what it needs. You take my breadcrumbs and my distraction, you're getting back at it. You're screwing it. That's what you want. By the way, I got a bottle of air here. 5 cents if you want to buy the air.